It probably would have been a bigger story if some of the people who cover the 49ers started fighting with each other, but not much. It sounded like there were tons of fights out at joint practice, but there's only one way to know if the media was involved in any of them. Let's go to a member of the media who was on the scene checking out joint practice. It is Willard and Dibs. Glad you're with us, and we're glad that Matt Lively of KPIX is with us as well here on the River Islands guest line. Any fights for you today, Matt?
You know what? I was sizing up a couple of guys, Vic Tafer, Nick Wagner, but ultimately I'm going to wait till the regular season gets going. I think that's when I can get my shots in. I'll be better prepared.
You may want to pack a lunch if you're going at Tafer, because, I mean, get a little size on you now, Matt.
I mean, listen, I hit the gym, but yeah, maybe Tafer isn't the smartest guy. Maybe I'll start with Barrows. That might be more my speed, and then I'll work up from there.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, that felt mean, but you're not wrong. Okay. All right, Matt, take us through this, though. Like, how authentic is it? It's always funny to me, right? There's a lot of these fights, and then the coaches sort of have to act like they're mad about it and kick people out, but we know it's going to happen again the next time. So what was your take on what you saw today?
It was nonstop. They started in the sixth period, and I think for the first 5 to 6 minutes of the sixth period, there were at least 4 or 5 fights. And I was on the Niners offensive side, but the Niners defense was really doing most of the work. Felt like they were just more interested in fighting off the top. And then once the Niners offense and the Titans defense started going at each other, which the offensive line was really instigating most of that, Kyle Shanahan finally stepped in. And it was kind of like, all right, what are we doing here? Let's get some good practice in. And it really settled down from there. But it did take Kyle Shanahan, who's coming back from a concussion and probably can't yell very loudly, to step in and say, enough.
Is this kind of a byproduct of that, Matt, to where Kyle Shanahan's still kind of working his way back into being, the head coach and being able to control everything? Or is this just kind of pure coincidence?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's joint practice. These things happen. I heard a couple of years ago that the Niners shut down one of their joint practices because there was too much fighting. So first time you get to go up against another team, you're physical, you're loud. Fred Warner said there was a lot of chatting between the Niners defense and even Cam Ward, who was kind of giving it to them. So it was good that Shanahan was able to show, like, hey, I'm going to come in here and break it up, and you guys are going to listen. But I think this just goes to the territory of joint practice. It's time to go.
Matt, I thought it was really interesting with Robert Salah back in town, with the great reputation that he has with this organization, that it sounds like some thoughts have started to come up from some defensive players where maybe they didn't necessarily love the way that it was all kind of planned out last year, particularly the defensive backs. Did you catch wind of any of that, where Robert Salah not being around anymore might actually be kind of a welcome thing for some of the guys on the defensive side?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I heard that in the press conferences, and Jair Brown was kind of saying that this role that he's entering this year is what suits his game best. And so they are going into a new scheme, and Fred Warner said today that he's more confident in this defensive back group than any other DB group that they've had since he's been there. And that might be the byproduct of Raheem Morris stepping in and trying something new. And they've got a couple different positions that have new names, the star and things like that, that are going to be added to that side of the ball. But those guys loved Robert Salah. I think they liked playing for Robert Salah, but I don't blame a guy like Jair Brown who might just go, hey, this is actually going to suit my game better. I'm enjoying this a lot more. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I don't necessarily think it was a shot at Salah, because he seemingly, last year when you talk to these guys, hey, he's made me so much better. He's such a great defensive mind. So I don't think there's any really disrespect meant by it.
Do you think that last year was more of a byproduct of the personnel? You didn't have Fred for a while. You lost Mykel Williams. You lost Nick Bosa. And it seemed to me that you didn't really have an option other than to play kind of a soft defense.
I mean, guys, they were signing guys off the street. I mean, Garrett Wallow started a playoff game for this team. Like, it was like every time somebody stepped up and we're like, wow, Tatum Bethune's really good. Tatum Bethune goes down. And so it really was, hey, we are piecemealing this thing together. Everybody just has to plug and play. And it might not fit your game, but this is what you got to do this week. And so I still look back at last year's defense and think, wow, what a job they did with the guys that they were missing. I mean, through 10 weeks, they were without Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Mykel Williams, and they just kept signing guys who somehow made it work.
Matt Lively, KPIX with us, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. All right, Matt, I love that you were on the offensive side of the ball. How did Dejon Stribling look?
To me, he had the most impressive practice of his training camp thus far, and I thought he looked like the best wide receiver out there today, honestly. He caught a couple touchdown passes. He was making contested catches against the different defense, which I think is what we were all excited to see. Early on in training camp, his hands are great. He can get to the spot and catch a ball, but he was having a tough time separating, and today I saw him separate against that Titans defense, which was nice to see. But I walked away being really impressed with Dejon Stribling, and of course, Thursday is going to be a way bigger test for him. That's when you actually are in game mode, and let's see what you have. But Stribling was great, and also DeMarcus Robinson deserves his flowers from this one as well. He also came down with a couple touchdown grabs, and that's a guy who last year I think we all expected a little bit more of him, and he claims that the DUI and the 4-week suspension didn't play into his season, but I think it did. When you miss those first few weeks, that's valuable time, and I think that he has a chance to really step up and fill that Jawan Jennings spot from a year ago.
Matt, I know with a Shanahan offense, we're sort of conditioned to think that the rookies are not going to have a key role, but I checked the NFL rules and they are allowed to. So, let's hear about Stribling. Is he forcing his way into a real statistical role this year with this offense?
Well, the thing is with those Shanahan rookies is if you're a top guy, you typically do get to play. Like Ricky Pearsall played once he was able to come back his rookie year and be healthy. Debo played. Brandon Ayuk played. Brandon Ayuk got put in the doghouse a little bit, but Shanahan plays those top draft picks. It's more so the Cowings and Watkins or your Isaac Grindos or Jordan James. Those are the guys in the later rounds that round. Christian Kirk is hurt. Ricky Pearsall is out for the year. We're still a little unsure what we're going to get from Deebo Samuel. Dejon Stribling, it might not even be that he's forcing the hand of the coaching staff. They just might not have any other options. So I think Dejon Stribling is going to have, or at least have the opportunity to be an impactful player really early on.
Yeah, just based on body count, it makes perfect sense. And I'm wondering about the similar situation at running back with McCaffrey in bare feet today. How did the reps get broken out with the other guys?
Yeah, it was definitely Patrick Taylor Jr. seems to be running back one in this, limited running back room. And then it looked to go Sincere McCormick and then Khalil Herbert. But I don't know. With McCaffrey, I can't imagine. It's not like he's going to miss week one. This seems to just be precautionary. I am more concerned behind him of how far out are Jordan James and Kalon Black from being able to go. That's where I'm more concerned about. Hey, is it actually Patrick Taylor Jr. backing up Christian McCaffrey in Australia? I would like to see at least one of those guys get back for a preseason game so you have that assurance that McCaffrey has a backup entering week one.
Matt, I also think there have been so few questions about Brock Purdy, which speaks maybe to the comfort the fan base has with him. But everything that I'm seeing and reading from camp is that he has just had a sparkling few weeks out there. My question to you is it same old Purdy, or do you see him as maybe even better? Have there been improvements that you can see?
I've always really liked what I've seen from Brock Purdy. He's looked really sharp to me. If you want to say, yeah, he's improvement, he's 26 and he's entering year 4 as the starter. And if you look at other quarterbacks historically, isn't this the time when you expect that franchise QB to take the biggest leap? Like, he could be entering his prime here from age 27 to 31, 32. And so this is what you're hoping to see from Brock Purdy. You want to see him improve and step up, and maybe this is the best season that he has, and maybe he's back in MVP conversation this year. I've really liked what I've seen from Brock so far, and on all accounts of what I saw, he had a great day against that Titans defense, and it's obviously a system he knows well because it's Robert Salah's. And Shanahan went as far to say, hey, I'm hard on Brock when he messes up, and there was not a lot for me to be upset about today. So I really liked what I saw from Purdy. Can't imagine we're going to see really anything in the preseason from him outside of one or two very controlled drives later on. But I think Niner fans should have the expectation that this should be the best season of Brock Purdy's career, no doubt.
When you look at the Thursday game and, Brock maybe gets a series, maybe nothing at all, is it going to be a healthy dose of Mac Jones, or does he also kind of get the veterans treatment as well?
I think, if they do start a quarterback that's not Brock Purdy, I think Mac gets maybe that 1 or 2 series treatment. And then, that there is, it's funny to say, there is a competition for QB3 right now, though. Adrian Martinez spent a lot of time on this roster last year and down on the practice squad. But you spent a draft pick 2 years ago on Curtis Rourke, who was recovering from that ACL injury all of last year. And so I think the coaching staff is excited to see what Rourke can bring. And, hey, is this a guy that could eventually replace Mac Jones as the backup? So I would imagine Mac gets a couple of series. Brock Purdy probably won't play. And then you have Adrian Martinez and Curtis Rourke getting a couple quarters each.
Matt Lively, KPIX, is with us. Matt, you may want to dive into individuals with how you answer this question. I think we understand from the Pearsall angle, or if there's broken bones like there is with Jordan James. But a lot of these injuries that everyone's buzzing about at 49er camp, are they actually injuries, or are the 49ers just being conservative?
It's such a good question. I go back and forth on this all the time. The younger guys, it seems like those are legit injuries, because why would these first or second year players not be on the field right now? This is one of the most pivotal times for a rookie or a first year player, especially like Jordan James, who really didn't get to play last year. This is when you want to make your mark and get those reps. And so those are legit injuries. Then when you go down the line and Mike Evans moved great today. He didn't really do much against the Titans defense. They didn't have him out there for that. He was off running to the side again. But Mike Evans, looked great in individual drills, and he looked like his leg was fine. So maybe that quad strain that he has is just preventative. And I think the same thing with Nick Bosa, who has the tendonitis. Why would you rush him back out there? And Christian McCaffrey, is it really smart for him to be out there for 3-4 weeks of training camp and preseason when you're trying to get 17 regular season games out of him? I'm not so sold on those guys, but for the Malik Mustafas and the Jacob Cowings and the Isaac Grindos and the Jordan James and Kalen Blacks, and I guess the list goes on and on and on because it's the 49ers, those do seem like legit injuries, because those are guys that seemingly should be working right now. They need the reps.
When you look at other players like George Kittle, what is your estimation as far as whether or not he might actually be ready to go in a month when they go to Australia?
George is running around like he's good to go. I mean, of course, this is without pads, and this is just running off to the side. But I was really impressed with watching how George Kittle was moving over the last 2 days. I'm still really skeptical whether or not he's active for week 1. And that's less so about being ready for contact week 1 and more so about you're about to stick this guy on a plane for 30-plus hours round trip. Is that the best use of their time? Or do they say, hey, let's shelve this guy. He gets a full week in Santa Clara to rehab instead of being on a plane for essentially 4 days. It just doesn't seem smart to bring him, or maybe even Nick Bosa for that matter, to Australia and put the toll on their bodies that those flights basically require of you.
Hey, Matt, what was Dunleavy doing out there today?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe looking at Jaden Duggar, 6'5". He plays a bunch of positions on defense. Maybe that translates to the court. Mike Evans has a basketball background. I don't know. And I know Dunleavy had a press conference here soon, so he's not making any signings today, I guess. He was kind of walking around at practice, picking the ear of John Lynch.
Did you talk to him at all? It sounds like some people caught up with him and started talking Warriors with him.
Listen, I did not catch up with Mike Dunleavy. We are 2 days away from the preseason opener, which, by the way, airs on KPIX. It's football season, baby. I got Valks in football, but the Warriors are kind of in the rearview mirror for at least another month for me.